Hi guys. All right, so I made a video on death last year, and I explained a lot of things in that video, and a lot of it has already been answered, but I want to address a commonly asked question now. And that question is as follows, okay? There's two folds to this question. In the first way I was asked is when someone is dying and I do my best to see them better and they don't get better, is it my fault? Did I fail them? And the second way this question is asked is, now that I can manifest, am I responsible for someone's death? Did I do that? So I want to address both of these questions in the easiest way that I can. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a background. First of all, I'm a spirit guide on the other side. I know what happens in suicide. I know what happens after you die. I'm going to use my own personal experience. So I'll start and begin with, I used to be a soldier in World War I. I was shot in the lung and in the heart. During that process, okay, I was picked up by an electric blue angel thing with wings. It was like 12 feet tall. I can't even begin to describe it. And it picked me up like I weighed nothing, like I was a 5-year-old child, even though I was an adult male in that reality. I was French, and I was an adult male. I was actually placed on the front lines because I was reporting on what was actually going on behind the scenes because, you know, not reporting the news accurately is something that we're all familiar with, right? So anyway, I was placed on the front lines, and the gun bullet wounds shot me right there, heart and lung pierced. I died instantly. So this creature picks me up and throws me into my body. It's this body I have now, except I was 12 years old. I was in the 7th grade. 12, 13, 14, something like that. I was in the 7th grade. And I'll never forget because for the longest time I had chest pains, and I would go to the doctors and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And it wasn't until after the fact that I remembered that lifetime that I understood that I was still holding on to that trauma. And as soon as I realized that it wasn't real, the trauma went away. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because if you notice, I didn't die. I just woke up in a new reality. And that is what is happening all the time, first and foremost. So it's important to understand that. Secondly, there is a commandment, thou shalt not kill. And we are misinterpreting what it means because the truth is we cannot die. And so the fact that thou shalt not kill is actually discussing the fact that we can't, that it's an illusion altogether, okay? Those of us who have been on the other side, survive, come back, and remember that all that we're doing is dreaming and waking up, dreaming, waking up, dreaming and waking up until the point where you wake up in the dream forever. But in terms of did I cause this or did I cause that? No. Contracts are fulfilled. Everyone is a guest in your construct. And if someone, even if someone was cruel to you in your reality and you wish death upon them, you know, if they serve their purpose, if you looked at your wound, if you were able to break that down, you will realize that they serve their purpose and you should appreciate them for the role that they played in your life. Okay, that's important. So if that contract is up, the only thing that happens is they wake up in the same way that I did from World War I to this 12-year-old body that I had. Okay, most people do not remember this transition, but it's very similar to dreaming. If you notice, and I say this often, life and the dream are very similar. If you fall asleep, okay, in your bed at this age, but then you dream that you're in high school, or you dream that you don't question the fact that you went to bed at one age, and then in your dream, maybe you're 15 or 16 or 18 or however old you are in the dream, you do not question that in the moment. Life is exactly the same way. It's God's dream over and over again. The only thing we're doing is going from one reality to the next, 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 until we finally remember. In my case, I've remembered all of my past lives, all kinds of things as a reward for what I teach you all. I now exist outside of time, not in the same way. And that's why I can tell you. Okay, there is a misconception that when you commit suicide, you go to some kind of purgatory of hell. Nothing can be further from the truth. We actually have hospitals standing by, blue and healing lights, healing water, psychiatrists, doctors, spirit guides, all kinds of things that will help people to deal with the suicide. And as we review their life, they will spend as long as they need to, because remember, time doesn't pass the same way. So for this person, it could feel like they were there for a couple of months, as an example, and they may have been gone 25 or 100 years from this plane. Because time is a 3D construct, it is not a construct of heaven. First and foremost. So let's get rid of some of these assumptions because they're not accurate. All right. Secondly, there are no accidents. So, for example, a grieving mother, I'm going to give you an example of that, Neil Donald Walsh, and I totally understood it in the moment, so I want to share his story. He had someone come up and was trying to explain that all of this is planned and this kind of thing and all this kind of, make peace with this story. And a grieving mother who had adopted a child stood up and she said, "How can God allow my child to die?" And that's totally normal feeling. I know because I've been there. And Neil did what I do. We listen to God and then we respond. And in that moment, he basically said, listen, do not judge this death. You see, this child may have been adopted, but his longing was to be with his mother. The reason that he was adopted was because his mother died of cancer. And so she died and did not get to raise this child. So his greatest desire was to see his mother again. That was his desire. And since she was no longer on this plane, this required her death. His death. Do you see? It's an imaginary death, but they were reunited. And meanwhile, the mother who had adopted the child couldn't fathom this reality, couldn't understand in what world would take, this baby away, this 20-something-year-old, not a baby, but still a baby. If you're mothers, you understand what I'm saying, away. And in reality, she was silenced in that moment because there is a bigger picture at stake. And the assumption is that death is bad. But if you remember what I just said, death isn't death. It's an illusion. It is the last enemy to conquer because it's the only thing that, really makes us appreciate this life. But there's something here that you guys have to understand. In this material plane, we are the ones that are dead. Hence why it's called mortal. It's a temporary illusion in creation, but we are the dead ones. Mortal, as in mort, as in dead. Okay? And the ones that are dead are actually the ones that are alive. They are the living. And we have it backwards. Of course we have it backwards. This world is upside down. It's our shadow world. So please understand this. It takes a while to kind of accept, but understand that you would never be responsible for someone's death. You would never, even if, and this has happened, a friend of mine, even if it was a car accident and you were the one driving, if that person's time to go was their time to go, you are not responsible for that. It was planned. Another question I was recently asked was, okay, you saw the buildings in Miami come crashing. All those people died. Was that planned? Yes, it was. Okay? Since all they're going to do is wake up, what did they draw attention to? Faulty building codes? They draw light to the problem in a major catastrophic way, but all of those people serve that illusion, and they now get to return and decide to what else they want to be. But all they did was wake up. And I want you to understand, death is not death. Not in the traditional sense that you think. Another thing, the grieving is perfectly normal. I understand more than you realize, right? But there's one thing I learned, because my son's death was the catalyst that woke me up. You know, the one thing that I can tell you, I had to forgive everything because the forgiveness lessons got so hard. Like, I swung at every forgiveness lesson ever, and I was like, oh, I did it. You know, and I kept on going, and it kept on getting harder and harder, but I kept on going, like I was a boss. I didn't care what happened until my son died. Okay. And in that lesson was the most difficult, because my guardian angels were begging me to forgive my mother and my father. Were begging me and begging me and begging me. And I kept on saying, listen, I'm better off without them. I am just not, nope. I'm just no. And I kept on saying no. And so I was humbled in a way that was deeply profound, because without this understanding, I wouldn't be able to stand here and tell you that death is an illusion. Okay? It is completely an illusion. See, the bodies themselves are illusions. The image that your world is made in is made from your living memories. Every single body is simply your experiences made into new patterns at infinitum, but you are the center of that world. You are the light, and you are the thing that makes everything. The reason that the veil is so difficult to perceive is because the veil is made of your experiences. You're the center, you're the light of the world. This is not fictional, this is factual. Okay? So, no, you cannot cause someone's death. No, you're not at fault. No, there's nothing you can do if someone has decided that they no longer want to be here. Okay? If someone has decided that, then it's time to let them go. But here's the most important part of that equation. Do you know how you feel the absence and it feels bad and you grieve and you cry, and totally normal, and it's okay to feel that, but do you understand that feeling? That feeling is actually signaling your brain's interpretation is incorrect. Because the only place they return to is your heart center, where your heart will make new illusions and your brain will make them into new bodies. So in grieving this loss, you're actually going against the grain because your heart happens to know better. In fact, most times when you grieve someone, it's because they're literally standing and sitting directly next to you. Their hand could be on your shoulder. They could be absolutely refusing to let you go, and that grief gets harder and harder. It's only for you to come to the conclusion that they have not left you. And it is a very difficult thing. A lot of the times, if you don't grieve, they will appear to you in dreams, they will appear to you in signs, they will appear to you in other bodies if you're able to use your conscious mirrors to see that nothing ever dies, that everything is made of your illusions, your body. Your ego is not your enemy. However, it is an obstacle that you must see through in order to understand how we are eternally alive. I give you the example of my best friend. I talked about her a lot. She stood as an example of someone who did what she hated in order to support her children. And she, it was a very lucrative thing that I used to do in Washington. It was extremely lucrative. It made us a lot of money. I didn't make the same kind of money in North Carolina that I was making in Washington, okay? It just wasn't the same. However, it was an obscene amount of money. And that is the reason she continued to do it, to put her daughter through the best schools in the country, Madeira. Okay, in DC, if you've never heard of it, it's where the diplomats go. It's tuition's like $60,000, and that's not even counting books or any other events or anything else. one of the absolute best all-girl schools in the country. It prepares you for college so much that by the time you get to college, college feels like high school. Great thing. However, she did not quit her job, and even on her deathbed, she was working. And she taught me the biggest lesson in the world. Do not do what you hate. It will deplete your life force. This is actually also in the Gospel of Thomas. So when she was sleeping, because I can go inside the mind to where the people are located, it doesn't matter if they're unconscious, if they're in a coma, it doesn't matter. I just astrally project to where they are. And so I entered her body, and you have to understand, she was jaundiced, she was yellow, she was sleeping, basically unconscious, totally knocked out. And I went inside her mind and I said to her, do you want me to save you? You know I can turn this around. You see your mother praying for you. You see this. You know how much you were wanted and loved. And I'm sorry I'm so late getting here, but I can still save you. And she flat out told me, abso-freaking-lutely not. No, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. And the truth is, she had leukemia, and leukemia is actually suicide. It's an acceptable form of suicide, but it is suicide, and that's what she did. This way, she could exit out the equation, and people would just assume she was sick and end of story. What she really just wanted was out. And as difficult as that was, I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to restore your mental faculties. I'm going to bring you to your level to be able to say goodbye. This will be it. But you are going to appear 100 times better after I leave. Okay? And sure enough, as my daughter is my witness, because my daughter witnessed this woman, because she wasn't just a mentor to me, she was my best friend and everything. She witnessed her the day before when I entered her unconscious body in my astral body, and she witnessed her after the fact. And when she witnessed her after the fact, she was like, Mom, you did that? Look at her, she's 100% better. And I smiled at her. I said, yeah, baby, but this is temporary. This is her time to say goodbye. And I only said it to my daughter. I didn't say it to her mother. I didn't say it to her brother. I didn't say it to anybody. And she had very clear talks and was able to say goodbye. So in that sense, I did my duty, but I did not force my will upon her and force her to live because she was personally living in a hell that she developed leukemia for so that she can get out. So when people have cancer, that is lack of love, a buildup of anger and resentment, and it is an exit plan. But it serves two purposes. It doesn't always have to be an exit plan. If you notice, usually when you're faced with your mortality, what do? You tend to appreciate your life a little bit more, and you're forced back into your body, and you're forced to be present, and you're forced to care for yourself, right? But it can go either way. You can literally decide, okay, no, I'm really out. I'm done with this part of the dream. So what happens is they wake up. Okay? Now, her daughter then came to visit me and said, I really need to make peace with this. And I said, okay. So in this specific room, this is why I'm telling you this story. In this specific room, she was sitting here on the bed when her mother came in. And I saw the spirit of her mother literally descend into her daughter's body. And I mean, like a possession. It wasn't a possession, but I needed to witness that. It was important because I understand the design, but every time I see this kind of proof, it's a big deal. Okay? And in that moment, her daughter did this hand gesture and was like, and she's from the Caribbean, but she did their thing just like her mother. And in that moment, tears streamed down my face because I knew that was her mother's spirit inside her daughter that was animating. When I say it is the same soul looking at itself from different angles, I swear on my life that is the truth. There is no separation. Everyone is a guest in your construct. The people that are you are made of your memories. They are actors in your play. But the construct runs on autopilot, and it is your job to see through it. In the Gospel of Thomas, we are told, know what is in front of your face, and what is behind it will be disclosed to you. That's that moment. And know this for a fact, certifiable, because my memories are intact, so I can tell you what happens on the other side. I can tell you what home is like. I can tell you the planes, the midways, the things that we do to receive souls, that we actually pull up screens and we show you the potentials if you decide to come back, when we plan out your lives, the whole shebang. In fact, I am also the person that carries people to heaven to meet their unborn child, and they actually recognize me as an angel because I take them to heaven to do this. Very few people get to see this side of me, but if they put in the work, if they trust me enough, that is the reward that I give them. It is what it is. Okay? So when you worry about these kinds of things, I want you to understand that you are judging something incorrectly. Nothing can ever be lost. Nothing ever truly goes away. And these things are actually returning to your heart space. Well, they will be made into another illusion. I have a client right now whose mother died when she was younger. And literally as we're talking, because I'm a spirit medium, I can't help it. I see these things. It is what it is. I'm a spirit guide, right? So literally we're talking, and when she talks to me, she was like, I think I'm dating my mother. Like, my mother is in a new body. And I said, absolutely. She had to pass away from that life to become your boyfriend in this life. Bodies, again, illusions. They're just roles. Different versions of you playing the roles that you need to see so you can recognize yourself. This is the reason I tell you guys, you cannot miss people. You cannot do all this stuff. It's silly because it's the wrong order to have an outside idol unless you understand that outside idol is a window inside of yourself. And that's one of the most important things I can ever offer you in terms of understanding death. It's not about guilt. In fact, Jesus would actually celebrate, not mourn death. Okay? He celebrates it. In Asian culture, they mourn the birth of a baby and celebrate the death. You see how they understand their older culture, so they understand the process in a totally different way. So if I can say anything at all, this brief little talk is, please don't feel guilty. Don't do that. Celebrate the fact that maybe they serve their purpose in your life the way that my best friend did. Because had she not gone out that way, I wouldn't have quit my job. I wouldn't be doing what I love. I wouldn't be doing this every day. I wouldn't be talking to people every moment. I wouldn't be imparting peace. I wouldn't be doing my calling because the golden handcuffs are so comfortable. They provide a certain lifestyle. And I wouldn't have left. But her death impacted me. She served a purpose in my life. And she's always been my angel. Whether people understand this or not, I'm her angel guide on earth. She's my angel in heaven. And she's always been that way. Because, I'll tell you, when my son died, I also wanted to die. And I nearly did. I created a sepsis illness and I was 1 foot out the door. Okay? I had IV lines going straight to my heart, IV lines going here, 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 and here. When I tell you I had IV lines going everywhere in their attempt to save my life, I sincerely mean this. Okay? My daughter was about 10 years old at the time. And I was so thin and emaciated after that process that my 10-year-old could not fit into my clothes. They were too small for her. She was 10. And if you see me, I'm a lot more thicker and hardier than that. So it wasn't a good look for me, all right? But I was on my deathbed. And she This angel, which is why I did the same thing for her on her deathbed, she came to me, laid her hands on my kidneys and healed them so that I could walk out of that hospital. Okay? So, can you heal people? Yes, you absolutely can, but do honor the process. Don't consider their death a failure. It is not. It is simply waking up, just like I did when I was a soldier and then woke up in a 12-year-old body. It's very similar to what Neville describes. We just wake up in a new body and we have no idea that we died. Proof of this is my aunt, right? My aunt passed away in another reality, but in this reality, she is alive and kicking. Now, I evolved, and I came up to this dimension where she is alive and kicking and hanging out with her daughter all the time and living a wonderful life. Did I leave the reality behind where she died? Yes, I did. Now, those people are incorrectly mourning her. Meanwhile, in this higher plane, she's having the time of her life and has no idea that she's ever passed away. And it is so important to understand that it is the end of the suffering. It is the end of a cycle. Okay? Another example or another analogy I'll give you is this. Let's say that our desire is to experience pizza. We want to taste it. We want to feel it, All right, so we come to Earth and we start eating pizza. All the time. We eat every kind, deep dish, New York style. We try California's, any kind of pizzas, all kinds of pizzas. Okay, at some point, no matter how much you love pizza, are you going to say, if I eat another pizza, I'll just, okay? So, you've experienced all that you can get from that experience. How horrible would it be to be stuck in Pizza Land? Just think about that. How horrible would it be? How cruel? Now, you may love having your pizza-loving friend all around you, but would it not be cruel to be like, you need to stay because I can't let you go, even though you're sick and tired of this existence? I need you to stay. Do you see how that's not fair? Okay? So, in essence, allow for the evolution because no one actually dies. They've had enough of that experience. They're going to wake up in another reality where maybe now they're going for sushi. Okay? And so they're going to switch. But understand that this is not to be judged, because if you don't understand the intelligence behind it, then we're only judging partial, perception. And so we think, oh no, we're losing somebody. We're not losing someone. Okay? My son is currently inside all people that I know. All of them. All of them. Okay? Everyone that I love and hold dear, including becoming my latest granddaughter. They're twins. He is one of them. He's just a girl now. And it's so clear which one he is. The face is identical. Like, it just not lost on me. Right? So, if he had to pass away to become my daughter's daughter, then who am I to stop that process? Can you understand that it's simply a continuation of life? And the only difference that happens is we switch from one train cart to the next. If you can think of time as little segments, like a train cart, So when I decide I no longer want to be in point A, I'm going to leave train cart A, and I go to train cart B or C or D, or I'm going to go on a rocket ship. It doesn't matter. But if that's the experience that I want, that's what I'm doing. I haven't died. I simply decided that I no longer want this experience and I want to go to that one. And that's how we need to think of death. And it's perfectly normal to grieve. It's perfectly normal to acknowledge these feelings. But even in grief, understand that your heart is letting you know, hey, I'm right here. I haven't gone anywhere. To judge this is incorrect. I'm going to make you feel bad so you don't stay here too long. And that's what that means. So make peace with this. Make peace with this. Death is not something that is considered bad. I'm not saying go out there and be Dr. Kevorkian and commit suicide or any of that craziness. That's not what I'm encouraging, okay? I'm just simply saying that it's a little bit more like the movie Insidious, where you wake up from one reality, you wake up to the next, you wake up to the next, and you keep on dreaming until you realize that all of it is a dream. And when you wake up in the dream, you're going to realize and you're going to remember everything like I have. I am not special. I just happen to be further along on this bridge because of the choices that I made, and the journey took me here. This was my destiny. It has to be. My name literally means the bridge to life everlasting into paradise. The light bridge at that. So if I'm not living up to my name, if I didn't leave myself clues, I don't know what I'd be doing, right? So this is my destiny, to try and make peace with this for you guys to understand that nothing ever leaves you, okay? Your children already know how you're going to pass away. It's already in their memory bank, and you will play that role out. It doesn't seem that way, but it's clearly already existing. The truth is, you simply move in mind along the time constructs that you have created for yourself to see yourself. And that's really what it's about. So when you're grieving death, you are actually getting farther away from the people that are actually much closer than you think. Because these are the memories that get recycled and become someone in your life that is going to mean the world to you. Whether, I did this in Barbados, okay? My grandmother passed away, and in Barbados, she joined me. And she was someone named Caroline. Like as if there was a clue, right? Carolyn, Caroline, still me. And the reason I knew it was my grandmother was the eyes. I was like, oh, I'm not fooled by this illusion. That's my grandma's eyes. I know those eyes anywhere, right? And Josiah had made us do this exercise where we were staring into each other's eyes when I saw it. My grandfather died before when my mother was 12, so I never met her. And yet, on this trip, he appeared as a mentor to Josiah, and I totally saw through it because he even had my chin. So there's clues there. There's so many clues. If you understand what's in front of your face, I swear on my life you can understand what's behind it. Okay? And you just never know how they're going to appear, but I promise you that the living memories cannot die. They are simply recycled and turn up in your body in other ways and other constructs. And it is quite beautiful. And I say this because, again, I'm going to mention the Gospel of Thomas one more time, right? It says, whoever can translate these sayings will never taste death again. And that's why I'm saying it. This is where my peace come from. It really does. You know, my dog, for example, died in exactly the same way my son died. It hit me really, really hard. But even in that moment, my dog served me to make peace, because here I thought I had made peace with my son's death, and I really had, because I can see my son everywhere. So I shouldn't have grieved, but we had to kick out that last little bit of resistance. So I had to go through that. So even that moment, okay? And now I have this dog named Bingo, whom walked in, and his shadow was so huge and so identical to my dog Akito. And he even has the same eyeliner marks from Sirius, from, you know, the Egyptian times, that Akito had. Identical. So I'm not fooled by the illusion. My dog didn't go anywhere. Not that at all. And when you understand that, you don't grieve the same way. You do grieve temporarily, but there's a certain level of peace and understanding that you can never lose anyone. And that's my biggest message that I want to impart to you about this. Please understand you can't. You never will. They become everybody else in your reality because you can't be divided. Think about how God says that. I can't be divided. All I'm going to be in order for you to discover who you are is pretend to be everything you're not. But it is absolutely the greater aspects of your spirit that are making the illusions of other bodies. And it's always been this way. And when you can use your mirror neurons and understand that, and you see through it, you see straight into heaven. And you'll realize that death is not real. So I hope this message helps. I hope you understand that there should be no guilt. No, it is not a failure when you fail to heal someone, even if you wanted it more than anything. Don't consider it a failure at all. Remember the mother who was humbled by Neil Donald Walsh, who said his greatest desire was to be reunited with his birth mother. So he was. That was planned. You know? Think of 9/11. Regardless of what you believe and what happened to the country as a whole when all of those people were affected? We came together as a nation. And that's what this is about. Same thing with the vaccinations. We know it's not real. We know what's happening. We can see what's happening. And so even these people that are sacrificing themselves in this illusion, it's all make-believe. But if they don't bring attention, how many more people would die due to effects of the vaccine, right? So it's always a design that serves you. Understand that. And when you understand that purpose, you can be free of the judgments. You can relax in that. And yes, you can help someone, but ultimately respect their choice to move on. Respect their choice to leave the pizza behind, so to speak. Respect their choice to evolve and go experience something else. Because I promise you, you don't die. You just simply go to another aspect of your illusion and you pick up where you left off. Okay? Love you guys. Hope that helps. And if you have any more questions, obviously ask away. But I made this video because I've had at least 20 to 30 questions regarding this in exactly the same way. So I wanted to make sure and address it. Okay, the 2 videos, I'll post this one and the one that I posted that I made a year ago. They'll be hand in hand together for you guys. All right, see you soon. Also, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to be gone as of Monday. I will be back in a couple of weeks, but just know that I love you, and I'll see you soon. And Anna, I'm coming to Chicago, so I hope to see you before I take off. Okay, love you. Bye.